Hello YouTube, welcome to Dragon's Dojo Gaming, and I'm going to be showing you off my Synchron deck profile for Yu-Gi-Oh! This is my favorite deck in the entire game, has been since Gen 3 came out, and even though I don't have this one particular card in the deck, my favorite card in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is Stardust Dragon. And my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Character, as anyone can guess, is Yusei Fudo. And I am showing it off on a playmat for my favorite anime, Fairy Tail. Now, let's get to the deck profile, shall we? To start off, I run 2 Stardust Synchron. I've debated about running him at 3, but I kind of like him better at 2 in this build. I feel like 3's a little cloggy, but with 2 being the right number, but that's just my opinion. Next up, I run 3 Junk Converter, one of the best cards in the main deck by far, because you can discard it and a tuner to get any Synchron monster from your deck to your hand. Like, it could be Junk Synchron, it could be Satellite Synchron, or Jet Synchron. Typically, I would go for Jet Synchron for obvious reasons. 3 of another one of the best cards in the deck, Junk Synchron. He's in there for obvious reasons. And I'm about to show you all a rather interesting lineup for what tuner monsters I have. Necro Synchron, Flare Synchron, Satellite Synchron, Jet Synchron, the card that used to be banned that's currently at 1 in the TCG, Synchron Resonator, and Destrodo. I play Necro Synchron because he's a all these guys are because they're more targets for Junk Speeder. Satellite Synchron, I run the other reasons are, he's for obvious reasons. He's for getting level 2 monsters and whatnot out. Level 1 and 2 monsters for my hand out faster. He's there for special summoning from my hand, and he's a weird card that works out well at 1 in this deck. Necro Synchron's there as another target for Jug Speeder. He's here because of Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane, and he's here for reasons that I don't think need explaining. Next up, 1 Stardust Trial, 1 Junk Forward, an interesting tech choice I've chosen for this deck. I play Stardust Trial in here for Stardust Synchron, and I play Junk Forward in case I open up with it so that I could special summon him before summoning anyone else. Next up, 3 Doppel Warrior, one of the best low level monsters in the deck. 2 copies of Caligo Claw Crow. Next, 3 copies of, can't pronounce his name, but another really good card in this deck. 1 Fire Ant Akataster. 2 copies of another interesting tech choice I run in this deck. 2 Boost Warrior. I run 2 copies of him because he's really easy to summon from my hand, and I can summon him And I can make it to where I can go into that one level 2 tuner monster faster. Not Formula Synchron, but the Fairy Synchro Tuner. I just can't remember his name at the top of my head. 2 Kobold Hedgehog. He's there for discard fodder and for being special summoned if I control a tuner. And finally, 3 of the only hand trap I main deck, Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler's really good. She's really good because she's a level 1 tuner that I can resurrect from the grave with Junk Synchron. I can discard her to negate effects on my opponent's turn. She's one of my favorite hand traps. And easily one of the best hand traps for this deck, in my opinion. Now for the spell cards. 3 copies of Synchro Overtake. He's there for revealing Junk Warrior from the extra deck and adding Junk Synchron from deck to hand. 3 copies of Tuning. It's obviously there as searchability for Synchron monsters. 1 copy of Stardust Illumination. Basic. He's there as a Foolish Burial for Stardust Synchron. 1 Rhoda. Obviously, he's there to add Junk Synchron and Junk Converter. And Doppel Warrior. 1 Monster Reborn. 1 Foolish Burial. Another interesting tech choice I run in this deck, Pot of Avarice. I run this card in the deck because I feel like if I ever need extra cards and that if I have enough monsters in my graveyard, which is easy to pull off, I can send those 5 monsters from my grave into the deck, draw 2, and then get to do more stuff. 1 for 1. 1 Change of Heart. And finally, for the main deck, 1 Called by the Grave. Obviously there to stop hand traps. Now for the side deck. First up for monsters, 1 Artifact Lancia. He's there to... Let's see, what does he do again? He's there to prevent banishing for 1 turn. See. 1 Lava Golem. There in case my opponent has a huge board of monsters that I can send to the grave. 2 copies of Nibiru. He's there for decks that special summon a lot of monsters. Which is most decks, but still. Like, I prefer to use him as a side deck card. 1 DD Crow. A solid side deck card in this format. 1 Droll Lockbird. In my honest opinion, 1 is the only number you really need Droll at in this format. 1 Regeki, there for board wipes. 1 Twin Twisters. For the main deck, or the side deck, I may actually consider adding Harpy's Feather Duster to the deck, because getting to destroy your opponent's whole back row for free is kind of nice. And I especially wouldn't want my opponent doing shenanigans with all that back row. 2 Forbidden Chalice. 2 Solemn Strike, there to stop special summons. 2 Solemn Judgment. And finally, a personal tech choice that I have, and one of my absolute favorite hand traps in the entire... I mean, not hand traps, trap cards in the entire game. Starlight Road. He's there in case my opponent were to have any spells or traps that can destroy lots of cards on my board. Like Harpy's Feather Duster and Regeki. Next up for the extra deck, 1-star Shaman, that's his name, double-star Shaman. 1 Martial Metal Marcher. 1 Herald of the Arclight. 1 XL Synchron. 1 Junk Speeder, in my opinion, the best card in the deck. Best chance the opponent has of stopping Speeder is as if they have impermanence in hand and using it to negate Speeder's effect. That's the best chance people have of stopping him. I mean, Valor could stop it too, but if you have Called by the Grave in your hand, and that's if you have it in hand, you could use Called by the Grave to stop that. I don't think there's anything in this format that could prevent impermanence from stopping Speeder. 1 Junk Warrior. He's only really there if you have nothing else in your extra, no other level 5s in your extra deck. He's only really there for Synchro Overtake. 1 Hyper Librarian. The second best card in this deck in my opinion, because getting to draw lots of cards is really, really nice. 1 Charge Warrior, because having a free draw one is nice. Especially if you were to summon him with Hyper Librarian on your board, then you get to draw 2 cards. Next up, 1 Dawn Dragster. He's a really nice negation card. 1 Psyframe Omega. He's there for sniping hand traps and other pesky cards that could pose as a problem. 1 Crystal Wing. A solid monster negating card in this deck. 1 Chaos Ruler. 1 Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane. Another one of the best cards in this deck because it's a quick effect negate. Like, you can't really go wrong with that. 1 Satellite Warrior. Very powerful card. It takes a bit to summon. It takes a bit to summon, and it's kind of situational, but in my opinion, Satellite Warrior is a very powerful card. He's basically a better Junk Destroyer. Like a much more powerful version of Junk Destroyer. And finally, the boss card of the deck, Cosmic Blazar Dragon. Now, I would go into combos, but unfortunately that'd take a lot of time and thinking for me to explain. But, there will be days where I will record duels for this deck, and you guys will get to see how the deck functions from watching me do that with my precious Synchros. But yeah, like I said before, Synchrons are my favorite deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! Before they came out, my favorite deck as a kid used to be Red Eyes, but then ever since Synchrons came out, they've been my favorite, and Stardust Dragon, since Synchrons have come out, has always been my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Has always been my favorite card. Funny enough, I even have in my bedroom, I even have a really big Funko Pop for Stardust Dragon that a friend of mine from Target got me. Well, guys, thank you for watching my deck profile. Please like and subscribe for more content, and I wish you all a good night. Peace out, yo.